I will review an ultralight spinning reel which is called KastKing Valiant Eagle II. So, during this video I will cover all the specifications and features this tiny reel possesses. I'll take a weight of it, and also I will look for any imperfections if this reel has any. So, if you are in the market for a new ultralight spinning reel, I hope you'll find this video useful. Stick around. Before talking about the reel itself, I will cover two more things. First of all, the packaging, right? I'll get that reel out of the shot and we'll get that box in. And I will zoom out a little bit so you'll be able to see the box a little bit better. Here we are. So the packaging, right? It's very premium, as you can see, very high quality box. And if I would open it, you would see that it has kind of foam insert for that reel to be slotted in during transportation. So yeah, very premium, and it has some documentation inside. And another point I wanted to cover, actually let me zoom in again. So another point I wanted to cover is that this video is not sponsored by KastKing or anyone else really, because I paid for this reel out of my own pocket. So I'm free to say whatever I like about this item. Okay, those 2 points out of the way, and let's have a look at the reel itself now. As you can see, paint job or the coloration is quite nice, at least for my taste. So all the colors are kind of muted, so main frame is kind of brownish. And then it has another color which is kind of maroon or red. So, and that red is here, then those two caps, then this kind of insert, if you will, behind the or beneath the rotor, and also some trims on the spool. And the cap as well has that maroon or red color. And another color used for this reel is black. As you can see, it has a black handle, black knob, and this cap is black as well. Then black bail arm, and the spool is black as well. So yeah, for my taste, it looks very, you know, slick. Also, I will mention that the handle is screw-in type. So for a budget reel, that's a very good, you know, feature to have. Now let's inspect the frame, whether it's kind of flimsy or materials used for the frame and rotor are kind of up for a task, if you will. So I will try to kind of flex it. No, it's solid. It feels like metal, even though it's, you know, some kind of a carbon or a plastic, but it feels solid. And then the rotor, no, it's solid, guys. It feels solid as well. Yeah, good. And the bail arm, it's solid as well. Again, you have to take into account that that's a wire, you know, and it's attached in 2 points. It has not a lot of movement at all. Definitely, I would say less than most Shimanos with a fine wire bail arm. So yeah, the reel feels solid when it comes to kind of frame and the rotor. So very good to see that. Now let's look for those wobbles, you know, in moving parts. Let's start with the knob. Oh, by the way, the knob is one of them tiny KastKing knobs. So, and it's covered in some kind of a rubber, or covered with some kind of a rubber, so it's soft to touch. And as you can see, it's tiny and it's very comfortable, you know. It's the same knob as it's been used on the KastKing Kestrel, so higher end reel. So very good to see that. Anyway, let's look for that wobble now in the knob itself. I hope you can see it. There is slight little movement, but again, it's not excessive at all. You would find bigger wobbles or movements in and out on most Shimanos and Daiwas. even though it has light movement, but as I say, it's acceptable and it's not excessive at all. Very good to see that. Now let's look for that wobble, in the main gears by trying to kind of move the handle. So I will grab the rotor to make sure it won't move. And now I will look for that wobble in and out when the handle is kind of pushed or pulled out. There is light little movement. Again, it's not excessive at all. Kinda on most, as I say, especially Shimanos, you will find bigger wobbles. That's not bad at all, guys. That's not bad at all. Okay, now let's look for that rotational wobble, So I will try to kind of grab onto the handle hard and kind of will try to see if there is movement when I'm trying to kind of rotate the handle. No, nothing here actually. It's solid. Yeah, it's solid here. So yeah, very, very good job. Tiny reel, budget reel as well. And it's tight reel. Another thing is the bail arm, right? Let's try to open it and see how it feels like. It feels very, very solid, but it has that sound which I do not like personally. But I figured out how to remove it. So I will do that later, but it feels very solid. And even that sound, that crack sound is, I would say, better than on Shimano's. It feels more premium to me. But in any case, I will get rid of it. Bail arm feels very, very solid on this reel. And what I like as well is that bail arm is bigger. Even though it's a tiny reel, but it's easier to use this reel because the bail arm is, bigger. It's easier to grab it when you want to open it. Another moving part is the cap to secure the spool, right? It has a clicker. It feels nice. And now the spool itself. It has light movement, but again, on most reels you will find it, at least on kind of medium priced ones, Daiwas or Shimano's I mean, and yeah, same deal here, it has light movement. And now let's quickly test that line roller, right? What I will do, I will put a slight mark on it, so I would be able to see that it's moving. So now I will grab some line, not sure if you can see it, but I will just pull that line through the roller, and if I will see that black dot on the roller is moving, we will know, that it's working properly. Yeah, it's all good here. I hope you can see it's moving. So yeah, kind of initial look at the reel, really, I have no complaints at all. Obviously, I will have to put some line on, and yeah, I will see about removing that wobble in here. It will be very easy to do so. I'm pretty certain it only needs one washer on the top bearing here. And yeah, other than that, it looks great. Oh, and also it has that on the spool, it has a double lip, as on most Daiwa LT reels. Basically, you put your line until the first lip, and you know that that's the best performance you can get. You won't get any like kind of line going onto the top events and so on. So yeah, it has plenty of features and it feels very, very solid. Now I guess all I have to do is to take the weight of it. If I remember correctly, this reel supposed to weigh 140 something grams. So I will grab my scales here. I will make sure that you can see it. And let's take a weight of this tiny reel. So I hope you can see it well. Basically it's 142.45. That camera wants to focus on the reel, but I will sort that in a sec. So as you can see, 142.48. So if I remember correctly, Shimano Manford 500 weighs 145 grams. So this reel weighs more or less the same. So very, very good kind of bait on this reel as well. And now let's talk about the smoothness and power transmission, because for most people that's the only thing that they're interested in. Basically they grab the reel, spin it, and yeah, if it's smooth and kind of feels light, they're happy, you know. So yeah, let's have a look at that as well. So now the smoothness, right? So how smooth it feels, and it is smooth. I will say this, that this reel is smoother than KastKing's Kestrel, which is more expensive reel. And I suspect this is because this reel has 5.2 to 1 gear ratio and KastKing Kestrel has 6.2 to 1. So basically most of the time reels which has a lower gear ratio, they will be a little bit smoother. So, and I believe this is the case as well. And also, this reel has double support, if you will. So main gearings are supported by 2 pins. And to my understanding, this makes, or this feature makes this reel very smooth. Again, maybe it's not as smooth as say Shimano Vanford, bigger Vanfords like 2000 or something like that. But it's smoother in my opinion than Shimano Vanford 500. This one is smoother. And maybe it's not as smooth as, say, Daiwa Ballistic or something like that. But it's not far off for sure. You won't be disappointed with the smoothness, especially given that it's a tiny reel, you know. To get very good smoothness in a tiny reels, it's not as easy to achieve, you know. Okay, now power transmission, or how much energy I need to put into the handle to make my rotor to spin. So let's test this now. Again, it feels very, very good. I guess it might be to do that the handle is a little bit longer than, you know, on kind of this kind of reels. This is 1000. So on these kind of reels, the handle would be very, very short. And in here, it's a little bit longer. And, you know, to kind of transmit the power by having kind of longer elbow, if you will, on the handle, it's easier. Yeah, power transmission is not bad at all. As I say, maybe not as good as on like Manford, bigger Manford, and maybe Daiwa Ballistics, but it's, I would say, as good as Daiwa Fuego, something like that. It feels very, very light and very, very easy. So yeah, so far I have no complaints really. Yes, I will have to do a little bit of work, so just I will install one extra washer, but again, it would apply to most Daiwas or Shimanos as well. And then I will have to get rid of that crack sound. But again, if you like that crack sound, I'm certain you will like this one too, because it feels kind of better than on most Shimanos, as I say. And quite powerful spring in this block, just to make sure that the bail arm is always in a correct position, or position you want it to be, so open or closed. Yeah, very, very solid spring in here. Okay, so now what I will do, I will put some line onto the spool and we will see how the line lay is before making my final conclusions. Other than that, It's great. Oh, actually I forgot one very important thing, almost forgot. So, and that's a drag sound. How does it sound, right, when the fish will be taking the line? So, and it's very, very loud, and I like it, and it feels like very, very refined. It feels actually the same as on KastKing Kestrel, and I liked drag on that reel a lot. And in here, in my opinion, it's exactly the same. So listen for it. It's very, very loud. I hope you can hear it okay. It's very, very loud for a small reel. This is awesome. I love it. Anyway, let's put that line on, and yeah, let's see how the line will look once it's on the spool. One extra tip, guys, for you. Then you will be using fine braided lines, so you will need some backing. So for the backing, you want to use some maybe old braided lines too. If you don't have like line savers or whatever, because even though this spool is quite shallow, but I will be using very fine braided line, and it will need some backing for sure. And I will be using fine braided line for the backing as well, just to make sure that the kind of base of the spool before putting my line, which I will be using for fishing, so not backing line. So, but I want to make sure that the backing line is fine, so that the surface, once the backing is on, is as smooth as possible before putting that super fine line on. Anyway, enough of talking, let's put that line on and let's make those final conclusions. Right, I have managed to put that line on to this reel, and let's inspect that line lay, right? I will remove the spool from the reel if I can, and also you can have a look at the assembly when it comes to the dry clicker. It looks like on Daiwa's, which is, you know, tested and works well, and even though on LT series of reels, I mean Daiwa, dry clicker and drag in general is quite poor. In here it's better. So yeah, okay. So right, the line lay, right? One thing I made sure that the backing is, you know, as good as I can get. And if you will inspect the the line lay, again, that's a super fine braided line. That's a YG key PE 0.25, so I don't know, 4-pound breaking strength braided line. So as you can see, it's more or less perfect. But again, this is because I made sure that the backing is just, as they say, as good as I can get. The only kind of little imperfection is that at the top, just by the lips there is a slight little gap. But it's not a big deal at all. I mean, it looks perfect, and it won't cause any issues when it comes to line going over the top of the spool and causing like wind knots and so on. Yeah, obviously on kind of mid-range or Daiwa mid-range reels, you'll find that there is no gap most of the time, like no gap whatsoever. It's more or less perfect when it comes to this little area by the lip. But in here, there is slight one, very, very little one. But again, other than that, it's more or less perfect, guys. Unfortunately, KastKing does not supply any kind of extra washers to put onto the main kind of stem or shaft, if you will, to make the spool to sit lower or higher. But anyway, even then, I mean, I'm definitely very happy with that. And if you'll be able to get this kind of a line lay from any Daiwa or Shimano, you will be happy, you know, without messing about adding or removing washers. So yeah, last final bit, tested, and it's a pass in my book. But again, I have to mention that there is slight little imperfection, even though you most likely won't be able to see it on the camera. Again, I'm being picky here. In general, most anglers won't even notice because like looking now at the line lay, it's perfect, you know, guys. As you see, I'm just being a little bit picky. So yeah, all in all, high marks for this reel, especially given that it's a, you know, it's a budget reel. So yeah, if you are interested in getting this reel, or at least having a look at it, I will leave links in the description below. But that's it. Thanks for watching and see you in the next one.